Hi, and welcome to episode number 16 of the Gentle Business Revolution podcast, the show where we talk about marketing your business by disrupting the current marketing paradigm. I'm Sarah Croce, I'm your host here, and you know that you're in the right place if you are a heart-centered entrepreneur or intrapreneur who is looking for a different, a better way to market your business. Or you are an entrepreneur who is just simply fed up with the traditional marketing model and are ready for a paradigm shift. Today, I have another returning guest. Just like in episode 14 with Tom Schwab, today's guest has also been on the previous show because he's a fellow introvert. And I'm talking about Mark Schaefer, and if you're curious, you can check out sarahsanacroce.com/episode 24. But today I invited Mark back to talk about revolutions and rebellions. So 2 months after I launched the first beta group of the Gentle Marketing Revolution program, Mark released his latest book with the title, are you ready? Drum roll, Marketing Rebellion, The Most Human Company Wins. And I think you can see why I just had to have him back on the show. So first, let me tell you what Mark's official bio says. So Mark W. Schaefer is a globally recognized author, speaker, podcaster, and business consultant who blogs at Grow, one of the top 5 marketing blogs of the world. He teaches graduate marketing classes at Rutgers University and has written 8 best-selling books. Mark's new book, Marketing Rebellion, The Most Human Company Wins, is an essential new view of business and the manifesto for human-centered marketing. It hit number 1 in both the marketing and advertising categories of Amazon. His many global clients include Pfizer, Cisco, Dell, Adidas, and the U.S. Air Force. He has been a keynote speaker at prestigious events all over the world, including SXSW, Marketing Summit Tokyo, and the Institute for International and European Affairs. He has appeared as a guest on media channels such as CNN, The Wall Street Journal, The New York Times, and CBS News. Mark's book was a big inspiration for my Gentle Business Manifesto. And so if you haven't read that yet, you can download it without opt-in. It's just a PDF download at thegentlebusinessrevolution.com. But for now, I don't want to give you more blah blah and just really go into the conversation with Mark, which I really think you will enjoy. So without further ado, here's my conversation with Mark Schaefer. Hi, Mark. Welcome back. How are you?
I couldn't be better. I've been looking forward to this discussion all day.
Yay. Wonderful. So I'm saying welcome back because you've been on the show or the previous version of this show before.
Mm-hmm.
Actually under episode 24 when the show was still called the Introvert Biz Growth podcast. And for people who are curious about your introverted self, they can go and listen to that. Because in the meantime, I've renamed the podcast to the Gentle Business Revolution, the show where we learn to market our business by disrupting the current marketing paradigm. So let's start with the obvious. Your book, The Marketing Rebellion, came out in February 2019. And I had just launched the first beta round of my Gentle Marketing Revolution program. So I was ecstatic for 2 reasons. The first one is because your book showed me that I was on to something, that I wasn't the only one thinking that, something needs to change.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one is I was also a bit relieved that you didn't call it the Marketing Revolution. So let's start there because I heard you talk about that on another podcast. So explain to our listeners why you I think the first title was actually Marketing Revolution and then it changed.
Well, literally, naming this book was one of the most difficult exercises in my entire career.
Wow.
And I'm not kidding. First of all, the book it's vast. It really is vast. It covers a lot of territory. It covers a lot of ideas. As you know, I'm not a fluffy kind of person or a fluffy kind of writer. There's a lot of ideas in the book. There's a lot of inspirations in the book. There's a lot of case studies. I actually at one time even hired somebody. I hired a copywriter to help me with the title, and that just didn't go anywhere. And so I was looking at a couple different options, and one of the leading ones was something about the unreachable customer or reaching the unreachable or something like that. And I was floating around Marketing Rebellion, and some people didn't like Marketing Rebellion because they said, look, the last thing anybody wants is a rebellion. And that's a scary word, and that's really off-brand for you because you're a nice guy. Why would you want to be associated with a rebellion? So the solution finally came when I sort of tempered Marketing Rebellion with the subtitle, which is The Most Human Company Wins. And what locked it for me, I think, was I was talking about the title with a friend and really sort of got passionate about the subject. And she said to me, Mark, this is a rebellion. You can't ignore it. Listen to your voice. This is where your heart is. I said, yep, you're right. You're right. I'm going to go for it.
Right.
And it seems to be a title that's captured a lot of people's attention. And, it is a provocative book. I thought it might even have some backlash on it, Sarah. But sort of the opposite has happened. A lot of people say, look, I see this happening. I know this is happening. You just put a name to it and sort of liberated us to go back and do what we know we need to do in the marketing world.
Yeah, that's great. That was actually one of my questions, like what happened after the book came out, because I can already, for me, I feel that there is actually some resistance to, so mine is called the gentle marketing revolution. So there's this play with a paradox as well. It's the subtitle, me, it's actually in the title, right? The word gentle and the word revolution. And so I do see actually some resistance from some entrepreneurs where they are like, well, that's all nice. And yeah, we want to be gentle, but we still got to pay our bills. So, you can't just throw everything out the window and tell us not to sell anymore or not to, use these techniques in marketing anymore. And of course, that's not what I'm doing, but there's some resistance to change, as sometimes there is. So for you, it's been rather positive from the big companies?
Well, yes, surprisingly so. And believe me, I've been in some very awkward situations. I gave a talk to a group of CMOs from media companies. It was a small group, maybe 70 or 75 people. And there were people there like from Disney, from NBC Universal,
right,
from these companies that depend on advertising.
Right.
And I'm standing up in front of them saying, advertising doesn't work like it used to. People don't see ads. They don't trust ads.
Right.
We need to listen to what the consumers are saying. There are 600 million devices in the world that have ad blockers on them now. This is the biggest civil rebellion in the history of the world. And the advertising industry's response is, let's find a way to get around the ad blockers and show them ads anyway. That's the dumbest possible response.
Wow.
And as I try to show in the beginning of the book with a little history lesson, that when the consumers respond against marketing and advertising techniques, they always win. They always win eventually. And they're winning now. And so we have to get ahead of that. And we have to listen to, how do the consumers want to relate to businesses now? And the companies that can make that adjustment, those are the ones that are going to win. But even at this conference where I was talking to these media executives, they understood it. And in fact, I was so proud because the guy from Disney gave a talk later in the afternoon, and he actually referenced my talk. So that was a great victory.
He got it.
Yeah. But it is nerve-wracking. It really is. Because
it's scary.
I'm standing in front of people saying, the world that you've known and loved just doesn't exist anymore. So that it is definitely nerve-wracking.
I mean, it's scary for you, and I understand that it's scary for them as well. Like these marketing executives, but also the entrepreneur, when they hear pushy marketing and the way we've always done it the last 10, 15 years is not going to work anymore. They're like, well, then what works? And
Hmm.
so I'd love for you to share that soap story that you tell in the beginning of the book of that young friend that you had that
Hmm.
bought this soap at the special store.
Well, it's certainly my favorite story. It meant a lot to me because it taught me a big lesson and opened my eyes to where we are in the world right now. And I had just been reading a lot of articles how traditional brands, powerful brands built on advertising, like Ivory Soap and Crest and Tide, were in a free fall.
Hmm.
And because they're in a free fall, the advertising agencies are in a free fall. And I see this because I teach at Rutgers University in the graduate program there, and people that are getting laid off from the agencies are coming back to school. And so I see this with my own eyes, and I just couldn't understand why these great brands were failing. And then
Right.
I went to dinner at my friend's house, this young couple, and I walked in the bathroom, and they had these handmade bars of soap from the Knoxville Soap Company. I live in Knoxville, Tennessee. And I said, well, this is exactly the problem. So it ended up that this woman had bought this soap 10 times the price of a bar of Ivory Soap. So I said, why did you buy this soap when Procter and Gamble has been advertising to you your whole life?
Hmm.
Why do you love this brand? And she said, well, I'm not sure I love the brand, but I love the hands that made it. And that really sets the tone for where we are in the world today. People don't really, number one, people really don't trust businesses, brands, and advertising like they used to.
Hmm.
I point to statistics from big companies that show loyalty is sort of a myth. And it's shocking, literally shocking, Sarah, as I was immersing myself in these statistics that reflect where the world really is today. It's so different from what most marketers know, that most of the business world is asleep. And so this sort of serves as a wake up call. And my friend went on to say how she loves this company because of the family that makes the soap. They're involved in the community, they treat their employees really well, they're creating a sustainable business, they use local ingredients. And she's so enthusiastic about this that she's making me want to buy the soap, which eventually I did. So another lesson here is the customer is the marketer. There's no
Right.
sales funnel. There's no customer journey. This is all human conversations.
Right.
And so when you talk about what is the new way, this is a very profound realization that 2/3 of our marketing is occurring without us. And that is going to continue to shrink. So we really don't have a choice. We have to think about this new idea that marketing today is joining that 2/3. How do we get the customers to be the marketers? How do we get the customers to share our stories? How do we create content or experiences or ideas or conversations that are so interesting and relevant and authentic and exciting that the customers can't wait to talk about what we're doing? As I started to realize this, as I was writing this book, I thought there was literally a moment where I sat back in my chair and I thought, I don't know what it means to be a marketer anymore. This is a whole new mindset. And I'm just being honest here. There was a point I didn't know if I even had the courage to write this book because I thought, oh my gosh, I am going to get scalded
It
by
changes
people who
everything. Yeah.
it changes how we do our business.
Right.
And there's a great angst right now, I think,
Hmm. Hmm.
because CEOs that are running the company, they still expect marketing to be a certain function. And CMOs are seeing it can't be that function anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there is a tremendous amount of conflict right now in the C-suite. And we see CMO positions being eliminated. We see CMOs being fired. It's a very complex issue. But I think part of that, at least, is the idea that what companies expect CMOs to do and what customers expect CMOs to do is in conflict. And it's not working.
Yeah, there's so much in what you just shared. And what strikes me is that nowhere in this conversation did technology play a big role, right? It was literally a conversation face to face between you and your friend. And yes, you happen to be, in her house, but maybe you could have used technology via, a text message or something like that. But there was no, like you said, there was no funnel, or there was no sophisticated ads or anything like that. It's basically, we're going back to basics. We're going back to the human connection, like you say.
I mean, there is a place for technology. I mean, I'm not anti-technology. If we didn't have the technology that we have today, I wouldn't be where I am today. Let's face it.
It's so
Technology is a very effective and efficient way to spread those ideas and to spread those stories, but not by the companies, by the customers. And so, there is a place for technology, but we have to use technology in a way that reduces barriers between us and our customers, not raises barriers. So, an example of raising a barrier is something we struggle with in America. We have this stuff called robocalls, where people are spamming us on our phones, and the technology is changing so fast, and there's not even really a way to stop it. And I might get 7, 8, 9 spam phone calls a day. I don't even answer my phone anymore.
Wow.
And so that's an example where companies have made a choice to abuse customers with technology instead of serve customers with technology. And that's got to stop.
Right. Yeah, it seems like they have never evolved from the cold calling to anything different. So you're saying we're done with ads. People don't want ads anymore, and this will continue to, be more and more the case. I think, and we know that from the millennials, they're definitely they're allergic to ads. So how does this new way to connect then look like? In your book, you talk about the 5 constant human truths, and I'd like you to go into that a bit.
Well, first of all, I mean, I think that there will always be a place for ads in some cases. I mean, ads support things that we love, like Google and Facebook. Well, maybe we don't love Facebook.
Not anymore.
That's a whole nother episode. So this is a big challenge. It really is, Sarah. And I think this is the big question. It's really an existential question around marketing. Is now we have all this money that we're spending on advertising, and it's not working like we used to. What do we do with it? So one of the things that inspired me is that there was an interview that Jeff Bezos did in Wired magazine, and they asked Jeff, well, what's the next technology and what are you really excited about? He said, that's a good question. He said, but a better question is what's not changing? What's not next? And he said, that is what you build a business on, is what is not changing. What's not changing is that customers always will want a low price, fast delivery, and vast selection, period. Now, what Jeff does then is say, I'm going to create my systems, my processes, and my technology to support those constants. And I think we can apply the same idea to marketing. Marketing can seem so overwhelming, especially when we bring technology in and all the options that we have. Most marketing leaders don't even understand all the things that their technology can do. And that's where we get overwhelmed. And marketing has become sick because we're obsessed with technology and our marketing dashboard and algorithms and automation instead of focusing on customers and their human needs. And so let's apply the Bezos model to marketing.
Mhm.
What's going on with our customers right now? What are they crying out for? What's not going to change? They want to be acknowledged. They want to be respected. They want to find some meaning in their lives. And I think this has taken on even a greater sort of focus with young people today and the digital natives. This
Mhm.
idea about, meaning is more important to them in many cases than money. They have a different value. At the end of the day, people want to belong. They want to be loved. So these are really weird words to use in the context of business. And what I do through the book is sort of explore what is the role of business in terms of helping our customers believe, about how helping our customers belong. These are really big ideas, but I think this is the cutting edge idea in marketing. In fact, Sarah, I think especially the chapter on belonging
I was going to say,
is just
that's my favorite.
incredibly important. And after I finished it, the more I think about it, as all of these traditional ideas fade away, like interrupting people with advertising, intercepting them, annoying them, disrespecting them, as we turn into our companies and we say, look, we have to stop doing that because people hate it. One of the things that's going to be left is this idea of belonging. We have a belonging crisis in our world it's just heartbreaking, really. It's heartbreaking.
Can you
People
maybe
feel
share
more.
an example of a company that does that well?
Well, there's lots of examples in the book, but I think the most unexpected example for me, and this might not be a brand that's familiar in Europe, but it's very popular in America, is Yeti. It's Yeti. So what I did as sort of the foundation of my research was I made an assumption that if people put a sticker on their laptop computer, it was a symbol that they felt like they belonged to that company. Because
Oh.
that's, if you put it on a shirt, on a hat, on your car, on your phone, on your laptop, this is a symbol. It's almost like sort of like a digital kind of tattoo that says, this company is not going to let me down. This company is part of who I am, to the extent I'm showing the world that I belong with this company. And one of the companies I started noticing about 3 years ago was this company called Yeti. And I just couldn't believe it because they sell ice coolers, like ice chests
Right.
that you can buy in a store for like $29.
Not
And they
very
were selling,
sexy, right?
it's the least sexy thing imaginable on the Schaefer sexy scale. This is like, a 3.2, right above printer cartridges. It's not a
Right.
very sexy product, right? So I just couldn't believe it. Why are people so obsessed with this thing? Where was I last week? I was at some conference and there were a lot of young people there. And this lady had a Yeti sticker. She was probably 26. She had a Yeti sticker on her phone and she was taking a picture of me. She held up her smartphone and all I could see was this Yeti sticker. And I said, I just want to take a picture of you.
And the Yeti sticker.
Now,
Yeah.
what's going on here? Why the obsession with Yeti? Why do people feel like they belong? And why in the world would anybody pay $450 for an ice cooler? Yeti recognized early on that people who love the outdoors share a certain set of values and outlooks on the world. And they expressed this in the way they built their cooler, how it was rugged and it always had a guarantee. It doesn't scratch your boat. You can stand on it if you're fishing. They did this test where a bear couldn't even get into this thing. So if you're camping, it's indestructible.
Mhm.
And they did no advertising, 100% word of mouth. And they went to hiking guides, fishing guides, hunting guides, backpacking guides. And they gave them these coolers, and they gave them shirts, they gave them hats. And most important, they explained the story of their company, that it's not just a cooler. This represents a way of life.
Right. The world
And
view.
so all these guides, these are the authorities, right?
Mm-hmm.
These are the people who are teaching you or keeping you safe on a trip. They're wearing Yeti hats. Well, what's Yeti? And these people were prepared to tell the story. So Yeti realized the customer is the marketer.
Right.
They're not going to believe our ads, but they're going to believe these authority figures.
Mm-hmm.
And then these people are going to go out and buy our coolers, and they become a true sensation.
Yeah. So how do we apply this to the world of entrepreneurs?
Well, I think entrepreneurs are ideally suited for this new world.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I asked a researcher when I was writing the book, and she was talking about these trends. And I said, well, how does a big company adjust to this? How does a big company adjust to this idea where people believe people instead of brands, and they don't believe ads, they believe what we do, and they want these experiences? And I said, how does a big brand adjust? And she looked at me and she said, I don't know, but people do believe entrepreneurs.
Hmm.
They believe their neighbors. They believe business leaders. They believe technical experts. And increasingly, the personal brand is the brand.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of an extreme example of that is, what would Virgin Airlines be without Richard Branson? What would Tesla be without Elon Musk? Tesla probably would have failed without Elon Musk,
Mm-hmm.
because we have a certain belief in Elon Musk. And he's not a perfect person, but he's a real person. He's an authentic person. He's an
Right.
engineer. And he talks like an engineer, and he acts like an engineer. And, he doesn't try to be somebody else. And we can kind of relate to that, even when he makes mistakes.
There's an emotional attachment to him.
Yeah, we think, you know what? That's kind of charming. I make mistakes.
Yes.
And so, who's the person that you love at Ford? Who's the person that you love at Saab?
No idea.
There isn't anybody. And that's why it's so hard for these companies to make this pivot,
Right.
because they're addicted to ads to tell the story.
Right.
Now, a small business, we're the ones who are telling the story.
Mm-hmm.
We are believed. We are involved in the community, or we should be. We can meet with our customers. We can show our face, show our smile, show our heart and our passion in everything that we do.
Right.
We can show them the hands that made it. And that's what people care about today. And that's why small businesses, they're going to win.
Mm. What's interesting though, Mark, is that I've seen a similar evolution in the marketing, even of entrepreneurs and small businesses, where it's almost like the entrepreneurs try to be like the big companies and try to, show up as perfect brands and perfect gurus and have it all together, and big mass webinars and exclusion instead of inclusion. So I think there is actually also, an opportunity for entrepreneurs as well to realize and go, what are we really doing? Yes, technology has helped us create bigger empires and all of that, but eventually that might not longer work for the customer either, because they are also wanting more connection, more inclusion, more belonging and community and all of that. So I think
that's a very keen observation, Sarah. And I think part of the problem also is the education at the universities are still stuck
right.
in what worked, 15 years ago. And I'm not exaggerating.
Right.
I lecture at a lot of universities, and I see this with my own eyes, that the professors at the universities, they cut their teeth in the business world 15 years ago or 20 years ago.
Right.
And that's what they know. They're really out of touch with what is going on right now. And I can say with some authority, because I go to so many universities, is that at least in America, I can't speak for other places in the world, but in America, marketing education is pathetic.
Right.
It's absolutely pathetic. There are major universities in our country that do not even have a single course in digital marketing.
Mm.
And I recently met with a young guy that just graduated from the University of Tennessee, which is right where I live. And he said, Mark, he said, I am totally unprepared for the world of marketing that I'm in right now. And he emphasized the word totally.
Right.
And he was looking for me for help and advice and support to help him get through this entry-level job because he had no idea what he was doing and was confused and in conflict because what he was being taught at the university does not reflect what's really going on in the world today.
Right. Yeah, and it's the same with all these kind of marketing programs out there, not necessarily university, but all these entrepreneurs putting out marketing programs. They are teaching what worked 5, 7, 10 years ago, and it's still in that kind of scarcity mindset with lots of pushing, lots of manipulation, lots of fear-based marketing techniques. And I really think the modern customer needs to be empowered rather than disempowered. He's just not going to buy all that stuff anymore. That there's no more trust in that kind of message, I think.
Yeah, and like I said, there is a place for technology. There is a place for advertising. But we need to sort of create a new mindset of how that is really going to work today. I'll tell you a little kind of a poignant story. I gave my talk at an advertising agency. Now, that was one of those awkward moments.
Right.
And afterwards, this woman came up to me and she said, in this world that you describe, where do the television ads go? And I said, I don't really understand your question. She said, well, where are we going to see them? Where do we see the television ads? Because I make television ads.
Oh.
And I want to know what's going to happen.
Right.
So fortunately, the creative director for the agency was there.
Mm-hmm.
And he stepped in and he said, let's stop calling them television ads. Let's talk about creating amazing visual video stories that our customers are going to love.
Right.
And let's not worry about whether it's on TV or it's on YouTube or wherever it's going to be. Let's just stop naming these things and start focusing what our customers are going to love. How can we delight them in a way that they're so excited they can't wait to share this video or this idea or this story with their friends and their neighbors, because that's what we need to do today. So I thought that was just really poignant and kind of summed up the world to a great degree, that a lot of people, they're not going to be able to make the shift. They're going to be living in this sort of constant paradigm of 10 years ago. And then you look at what this creative director said. That is the kind of leadership we need.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to take bold leadership to make this change, because people don't like to change.
Yes.
They like to hold on to what they have. They like to make TV ads.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have to think in a different way. We're going to have to operate in a different way. Most important, we're going to have to measure in a different way that's unfamiliar, that doesn't fit on our current dashboards today. And that requires leadership.
Yeah. I think I'd like to end with this idea of, resistance to change, because I feel like the biggest pushback I'll get when my book finally comes out is from people who are in the current marketing paradigm. They've learned how to do marketing the old way, or not the old way, the current way. And they're saying, well, why change? It still works. And, why would I want to change? I still need to pay my bills. And I'm kind of worried about creating these amazing experiences if what I do now still works. So what would you say?
Well, and I think, I hope this comes through in all of my talks and all of my books, is that I approach this very humbly. I say this right at the beginning of my book. I never tell people what to do. And, if something's working, I honor that.
Mm-hmm.
If people know what they're doing, they know their customers, they're doing a certain sort of ad, or they're doing some sort of direct mail piece, or they offer some kind of a coupon and it works, great. I respect that.
Right.
All I'm doing is saying, hey, let's look at the whole world. Let's look at this trend. Let's look at real data and see where the world is going, and just be aware and make the smartest decisions for your business. And if you decide, hey, my customers are in a certain place and that's where they're going to stay, then okay. But at least make a smart decision.
Right. Yeah, I think that's what our role really is to inspire, but we can't be the ones to enforce change. And you said it so well. It's like, well, if it's still working for you, then, that's fine. maybe in 5 years, you're going to be ready to do something different.
Right.
Yeah. This has been wonderful. Thank you so much, Mark. I want to invite everybody to go and read the book, because really we haven't even touched probably not even a fifth or a sixth of it. So really my favorite part is the part about the 5 constant human truths. So purpose and belonging and all of that. So really encourage you to read it. I also when I was preparing the interview, I, for the first time, looked at the worksheets and everything that you have. So businessesgrow.com/rebellion. You get a whole bunch of different resources there. Some very creative, worksheets with the manifesto and everything. So go and look that up. Mark, thank you so much. That has been such a huge pleasure to have you back on here.
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks for being such a great friend. And thanks for being so well prepared and reading my book and asking such great questions. I never take that for granted. That made it a lot of fun for me. So thank you.
Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode of The Gentle Business Revolution. Again, I highly recommend you read Mark's book, Marketing Rebellion, The Most Human Company Wins. Please find the show notes of this episode at sarahsenecroce.com GBR16, and also check out Mark's website at businessesgrow.com. In case you're around for the holidays, I'll check in and start a new experiment by adding a Behind the Book series, a quick check-in at the end of each season to let you know how I'm getting on with the book, what I'm working on, what I'm struggling with, what I'm questioning, and all of that. So that's what's coming up next week. Also, you get to know before anyone else does. In January, I'll be hosting a 5-day free gentle marketing intensive. This is a fun event to start this new decade with a strong foundation and a marketing paradigm shift. I'm so excited. What you'll get when you sign up: a 1-page marketing plan, a powerful map you can use over and over again to plan your marketing campaigns. 3 live workshops on Zoom. We get to hang out on Zoom live with camera and everything. And a new version of the 7 P's of marketing that takes marketing from arduous to joyful. We'll also have a private Facebook group to connect with like-minded peers and get answers to all your questions. So again, you're the first ones to know because you're my dear listeners of this podcast, my gentle marketers, and you can get access as of today. I hope everything works with the automation and everything at bit.ly.com/gentle marketing intensive. I can't wait to hang out with you. I hope you'll join me on this journey to a kinder marketing paradigm, and please invite your friends to join us by sharing this podcast or the Gentle Business Manifesto with them. Both can be found at thegentlebusinessrevolution.com. Happy holidays, and maybe you'll tune in